Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Survivor Turning Back Time podcast. I am your host, Stephen Labine, and I am here with my co-host, Jared Sheldon. Jared, you took a long walk to get here today. How are you feeling?
I'm good, Stephen.
Oh,
Do you like drag?
Do I like drag?
Do you like drag?
I mean, I have watched drag. It's not my thing. Like, I don't do drag, but like I enjoy seeing other people live up to their creative potential.
Well, there goes a possible cash flow option for us, but
Dang it!
dang it.
That's all right. I will leave that to you, and I will let you do your own drag.
I'm also not a drag performer, but I saw a show last night that had that was a drag musical called Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, based on a movie. Over at Mercury Theater here in Chicago. Very good. The script's lacking a little bit, but they did a really good job with it, and basically got to watch a drag show pretend to be a musical for 2.5 hours.
I mean, what else do you need? So wait, hold on. I need to go back to this. Were you trying to insert me into, like, a drag show? Were you trying to get me to be your cash cow?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
it was a get-rich-quick scheme.
Sure. I don't know why you would think I would be the one to pull in the big bucks with drag, but...
You're a very attractive man, Stephen. We all know this.
Thank you. Again, audio podcast. Nobody knows this. If you want to see my face, we'll talk about that later. Descriptions of how you can see my face in the podcast description.
I should note to our listeners, Steve and I don't talk about what these openers are going to be. It's literally just whatever pops into our head. So Steven didn't know what I was going, like, none of that is it's all in his surprise is in the moment.
No, usually when I talk first, I'm the one to, like, pull the surprise on you. I was not prepared for that. Good on you.
And it actually did get me thinking there should be a RuPaul's Drag Race Survivor crossover.
No.
Send a cast of RuPaul's Drag Race out to Fiji.
No. You're missing the clear and obvious connection here. RuPaul's Drag Amazing Race.
It's right there.
It's right there.
It's right there.
You have to
You're
do
right.
it. But they have to do the entire race in heels. Good luck. Ready, go.
I mean, I haven't seen The Amazing Race since I was a kid. I would probably watch that.
So The Amazing Race is doing the opposite of what Survivor is doing, in where Survivor is leaning less on celebrities and starting to get more and more real people with real and interesting stories. And The Amazing Race is going from these nobodies to how can I pull these internet celebrities, influencers, video or YouTube famous people, and we're going to put them on The Amazing Race because they're going to watch. Somebody's going to watch.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Well, I don't know about that.
Ah, dang it.
I think your odds are better. Well, maybe.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say your odds were better on Survivor, and then I looked at the...
Sir, I am type 1 diabetic.
I looked at the diabetic meter on your arm, and I was like, wait, never mind.
Hey, yes, thank you. I'm on the beach. Is there a refrigerator for my insulin?
Yeah, I need some...
No.
Do you have any candy?
All the rice is mine, guys. That's medical rice now.
Yeah. I think that's as good of a transition as we're going to get. So, let us go into episode 2, Quest for Food. So, as highlighted by the title, and I feel like these are very aptly named. Later on in the series, they start taking quotes from the episode, and they name it those. And I appreciate that. But this has some theming to it, and I kind of like this. Everyone's looking for food. Everyone's real hungry.
Need that medicinal rat.
You need that rat. Well, I mean, you've been waiting for it.
I am so hung up on this.
Waiting for it through 2 episodes.
They we'll get there, but they finally do it.
They do it, and I love all the reactions to it are amazing. But yes, we start off. We're talking about food. Everyone's hungry. So Toggy goes out fishing.
Yeah, they do basically like a small. Not. I really love the word montage, but that doesn't really apply here. They do like mini confessionals with everyone, and all of them are like, "We're hungry." Like that's the thesis statement of all of those like 15-second like interviews.
We're so hungry. We need food, but we can't get food because we don't know what we're doing. Yeah. And so on Toggy, they go out fishing in raincoats.
I didn't even notice that.
3 of them were in like old-timey yellow rubber raincoats.
Yep. I remember. Yep, I'm piecing that together. A detail that totally eluded me.
Wild. I can't imagine them giving anyone a raincoat unless it was a disaster.
But why? I mean, it might have been in the crate, but like, why are you in it when you're fishing?
It did look like it was sprinkling.
Oh, okay.
Like a light rain, not enough to prevent you from fishing, but enough that it might have been annoying. But still, the fact that they had raincoats blew my mind. Absolutely insane. But it was all the ladies on
the only
boat.
3 women in Toggy.
Yes. They were on the fishing raft talking about the votes and like who they want to take out.
This is the first proactive strategizing I think we see. And I wrote down Women's Alliance ? And then me wrote never mind. Susan doesn't want that.
Sue is playing the field, and they call her out on it right away.
Oh yeah.
Like they don't say it to her face, I don't think, but Stacy can feel like she's not with us.
And the camera does a really cool thing. And for reference, when I say the camera, I don't mean the physical camera that's recording them. I mean the editors, the order they put the confessionals in, what the episode is showing us. Does a really cool thing where you're like, oh, Susan totally fooled them. And then we immediately cut to Stacy's confessional, where she's like, "Yeah, she was a little dodgy on it. I don't think she's with us." I was like, "Oh, gamesmanship?
Good for you."
In season 1 Survivor?
Oh, it's they're figuring out how this works slowly but surely, and it makes me real happy. But yeah, really, it's just about them catching fish, and then they cut over to Pagong, where they're looking for tapioca.
I meant to look up what a tapioca root looks like.
Sure.
I didn't, but I don't think it's that thing that they found out in the jungle that they were calling tapioca.
I guess I don't know, but I don't know where you would even look for tapioca. Apparently, somebody knew that they could look for it, because I feel like that's not something that you just say, "Oh, I'm gonna go look for tapioca out in the backyard."
Yeah. Do you think they did research on where they were going? I mean, do you think they were even told?
Maybe. This is. I feel like this is straight up Google something.
Sure. Yeah, 2000. Yeah, you're not going to find much, but you could go to your library, and if you know you're going to be on a show in 6 months, go in the Philippines. I guess go in a survival show.
Sure.
Either that, or the dude has a really weird. That would be what's his name? Sean. Nope, not Sean. Greg.
Sure. Oh, Greg.
Greg has a really weird obsession with tapioca. It's one or the other. But by the way, before we get too deep into this, I did forget to do our on this day.
Oh, sure.
So we're, I guess, on this week. Between last episode and this episode, I actually have 3 of them. This week was a pretty busy week in the world.
Let's hear them.
Yeah. So this one, I don't know how big of a deal this is, but Hafez al-Assad, general and president of Syria from 1971 to 2000, dies of a heart attack. It seems important. Syria became pretty unstable afterwards. And then something that might be more relevant to our listeners, the first X-Men film came out.
Whoa!
In the week between last episode releasing and this one, the first X-Men with Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, and all of them releases in theaters. The first showing was on Ellis Island in New York Harbor.
That's crazy. See, okay. Sorry, spoilers for...
a movie released 22 years ago?
Yeah, well, no. Yes, also that. But spoilers for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. If you have not seen that, just click ahead like 30 seconds. Also has Sir Patrick Stewart reprising his role as Professor X. And that just... 10 minutes of him being in that film made me really happy. Nothing else.
I'm not going to add anything, so that way it doesn't go over 30 seconds and
Cool.
people are safe.
Okay.
And then the last one, I probably should put that one last because that's the most relevant. But South Korean President Kim Da-jung meets the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-il, for the beginning of the first ever Inter-Korea summit
Oh.
in Pyongyang.
Really?
So like things were looking up for peace between the Koreas.
And
now it's one Korea. Crazy how that works. Right? That's I'm not very up on current affairs. It all worked out, right?
I don't know about that.
I lied to you. There's a secret fourth one.
Okay.
Samuel L. Jackson was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Oh, do you know like for what movie that they?
I think just his career.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And then the number one song in America was "Try Again" by Alia, which I do not know that song.
I don't know that song either. I'm sure if I listened to it, I'd be like, okay, maybe I know this.
I heard that when I was a child, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't matter.
So that's what was going on in the world. Try to remember where you were when the first X-Men movie came out, if you were born, or at least like conscious of the world. And that's where we are.
I would have been in around first grade, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, same.
Nothing better than coming home after a what do they call it? Mat Rats wrestling that I was terrible at. I was so bad at wrestling. Imagine this like tiny lanky kid that cannot force a person to do whatever he needed them to do for a wrestling match. So I struggled. I think I won about 3 matches over a course of 3 years.
Oh, Steven.
Yes. So I stopped that.
I wrestled all through high school, being again type 1 diabetic, and I've been 6'1" since I was either an 8th grader or a freshman in high school. But right now, as I am 200 pounds.
Sure.
And back then, my freshman year, I was between 125 and 130. So my same frame that you take 80 pounds off of, I was horrible.
Feels good.
I had lanky arms, lanky legs. I would just kind of like wrap around people, like Mr. The Fantastic Four stretchy guy.
Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic. That. God damn it.
And that right there is why our show is explicit. I have to check the little box saying
Because of me.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
I'm the only one who swears.
That's not true. Anyway, X-Men comes out
Yes.
while Greg is looking for tapioca. He's making some pudding. But instead of tapioca, they find the mud volcano.
The mud volcano.
The mud volcano.
What is that?
I don't know exactly. It looks like it could be, not it could be like a sinkhole.
Oh,
that
sure.
It floods, so like the water comes up as the sand like comes down, so it kind of fills up in like a mud situation. But still, it seems very bizarre.
It was really cool. I was like, wow, these people have no thought of danger. I was like, you're just going to jump in the mysterious bubbling hole in the ground?
Hey, if I can just get away from feeling how hungry I am for a moment,
Fair.
Cover myself in mud, it sounds like fun.
It was really cute. They were clearly all having a good time. I actually wrote down around that part. It's really nice to see a group of contestants that, while we're seeing like the early, as we just talked about with the women's alliance, non-alliance,
Yep.
They're having these moments of gamesmanship, but something that frustrates me watching 41, 42, everyone is always in game mode from the moment it starts.
Yes.
There are human moments, but they, in the back of their mind, they are always playing the game.
That's kind of how the game has evolved.
Right, and that's not something, it gives you an advantage. So you
Right.
can't tell people not to do it.
Sure.
It's a little bit like, I mean, my favorite time to pick, when I'm playing a new board game or a new video game is when I'm still learning, when I know how it's played, I've learned the rules, but I haven't figured out the best strategies. And this is very, I mean, they're still in the figuring out the rules part of it. But when we get to 41, 42, the game has been not solved because it's a human element and all of that, but it has been optimized, I guess.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why they, in the last 3 years, they've tried to spice it up with new twists, new things that the contestants can't see coming.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, it keeps them on their toes, but it does kind of keep them in game mode for a lot longer if they don't know what's coming.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they're gonna approach that in the future. Whether they just keep trying new twists, or maybe format changes. Maybe they just have a different philosophy in casting, or maybe they just don't try to address it. That's okay.
Yeah.
But there's some of this innocence that's lost.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes away from them as people outside of the game, and they're almost like a character in a TV show where all that matters is what's being shown right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you find the mud volcano. I think most everyone participates in the mud volcano.
Yeah, I think everyone on Pagong did. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cute. On the other hand, we go back to Tagi, and they show Dirk reading his Bible. I'm assuming the producer got Dirk to read aloud so that they could
film him doing it.
Him doing it, and he's not just like a person who goes off into a corner and reads aloud so everyone can hear them.
And you know what? Good for him. It clearly keeps him centered. And he said it refreshes him. It keeps him focused. Good, great for him. I consider myself a spiritual or religious person. But then he decides to become a missionary.
Yeah.
I wrote down this verbatim.
Okay, give it to me.
I would stab Dirk.
That.
Which is ironic because his name is a form of dagger.
Oh yeah. Hey, didn't even put.
I just did.
No, I found it so interesting. Once it does that, it kind of gives a little bit of a conversation between Dirk and Richard.
Yeah.
About the Dirk saying that. Well, first it gives a montage of everyone kind of being a little annoyed at Dirk for being a little preachy
and calling him, and I quote, sexually frustrated.
Hilarious.
Hilarious.
Love that. Also, weirdly, talks a little bit too long about how he's a virgin. Again, sure.
He did the thing you people try to do when they're actually insecure about something, but they think if they keep talking about it, they will feel more secure in it. And they're trying to prove to everyone that no, it's totally cool.
Yeah.
And I believe that he's doing it for his own choice, his own religious reasons, but he's clearly not very secure in that fact.
Yeah.
And his tribe's bullying him.
A little bit. I will put it out there, be committed to the things that you're committed to. If that's something that you want to, something you believe in, something that you want to do that. More power to you. But also, don't bring that onto other people. Which, the conversation with Richard, hilarious when Dirk is hey, you're, I'm talking about the gay lifestyle.
I was waiting for him to be for him to start getting weird about it, and
no,
it came
he
right
says
on cue.
He talks about how everything that he brings up is always about him being gay. Where after we had the montage of him pissing off people for always bringing up religion.
He says in a private conversation to us that gay people talk about being gay too much directly after he got done making his entire identity being the missionary guy.
Yeah.
Which I think they edited it that way on purpose.
I'm sure they did.
Because it's entirely hypocritical. We have not heard, we don't see everything that happens, but we haven't seen Richard, he came to his tribe and was like, hey, I'm gay.
Yeah.
And except for that, we have not heard him bring it up. It's been brought up to him by other people.
Yeah.
And he's very patient and very calm and dispelling their misconceptions. Like last episode, when he's like, no, it's not something that you can choose. And so for Dirk to turn around and be like, I'm okay with gay people, but they talk about it too much, made me want to vomit.
Yeah, it was pretty gross. Again, we're talking about a person in a specific time. You see a snapshot of who this person is, and maybe they've grown, maybe they've stayed the same. But boy, in that moment, didn't like that.
Right, and that's not. We're talking about Dirk, the character on on the reality TV show Survivor.
Yeah.
The human being outside of the game might not be like that at all, but this is the only view we have.
Yeah, I was watching a little something about how most reality shows have you sign a waiver for them to misrepresent you on the show. So like they can twist a thing here and there, make you the villain when you weren't the villain.
Sure.
It's always interesting. We don't know really how that all comes to play unless someone comes out and says, no, this is how it really was.
And I'm sure that people might hear that and go, think that's manipulative or something like that. But like they have, we're on by the end of this episode, we're on day 9.
Mm-hmm.
That is 9 full days of 16 hours a day of footage, not including when they're sleeping, and we see an hour every 3 days.
Yeah.
By that simple fact, you are going to be misrepresented.
Absolutely.
Because they have to put just like this episode, Quest for Food, they have to put a narrative in the episode or it's just kind of a mess. Like we kind of saw with the first episode, where it's kind of like a shotgun spray all over the place. They don't know. They're kind of just introducing everybody, but there's not really a strong narrative through the episode. You kind of need one.
You kind of do. You got to fabricate a little bit of a storyline or cut down so much that, well, I guess this is what we got to go with, because in the short amount of time we have, this is all that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. So everyone's struggling for food. Everyone's trying to keep it together. Bring in the first dedicated reward challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really excited to see this.
I was excited too. You come on in. Pagong is dancing in together in a conga line.
It couldn't have been more perfect, because Jeff literally got done being like, how will they fare without BB? And then you see Pagong literally dancing in. They are so happy he's gone.
They're so happy. They're very excited. The morale as a whole, way up.
Yep.
Without BB. And honestly, can't blame them.
Excuse you, Steven, this is a BB Stan podcast.
Sorry, we're BB Stan. We have a picture of BB. I'm looking at him right now.
We have a picture of the whole cast. We don't just have BB up on the screen.
Ignore what Jared's saying. It's just a picture of BB on the screen, and we're staring into those eyes and saying, ooh, that's that right there. That's a guy. Getting distracted. We come on in. Jeff says the reward includes a fishing spear, but does not say what else the reward is. Just says, yeah, you might get you're gonna get a fishing spear and maybe something else.
I definitely thought there was gonna be fish, because he says like you'll get the fish you desire, and I was like, oh, they're gonna give him like a bunch of like fish they've caught and fishing gear.
They've done that in later seasons. Like they give him fresh fish that was caught. But nope.
Nope. Screw you. You get a pair of goggles and a fishing spear.
Yeah, pair of goggles and fishing spear. And the reward challenge is to drag a treasure chest across the bottom of the ocean and bring it to shore. But it all hinges on your entire team being able to swim and swim well, which again was, I think, the key as to why this went a certain way.
Yeah. Gervais said he doesn't know how to swim at all, right? I mean, they gave him, I don't know if you saw this, they gave him a life preserver.
They gave him a little buoy. It looked like the one that was out in the where they all had to meet up and touch before they could go diving.
It was a little smaller than that.
It was a little baby one. So like, unless you were paying a whole lot of attention, you might have been like, oh, he made it to the thing. Wait, there's 2 of them.
He pushed his body there, but floating on a buoy for sure.
Yeah. Jervis is known not to be the greatest swimmer, and I don't know how many more swimming challenges there will be in this season. Yeah. I forget. But we'll find out how that goes. So yes, right away, everyone kind of gets out there. Jervis struggles, so they have to wait a little bit for Jervis, but it's pretty even through most of the challenge, as all of these challenges have proven to be. There's not a whole lot that sets apart these two teams. There's not a comeback mechanic.
No.
They get out there.
I described this, sorry to interrupt you, I described this season, the challenges, as like they enter the challenge dimension. It's a little like a boss fight, where like you step into a room and you see like a fountain to restore your health, and there's like these, the rooms in this specific arrangement, and you're like, I'm gonna fight a boss in here. I've entered the boss dimension, and this like it feels like we've entered like every time a challenge is going on now for everything except for the eating challenge because that was really casual.
Yeah.
It feels like we enter this like other dimension where there's kind of like weird music playing, and it doesn't feel like we're invited to watch it. Like we are watching it and it's on the TV, but it feels like B-roll or like footage that we're not supposed to be seeing.
Yes, although I did write down that this is some of the best challenge footage that they have had thus far.
Yes.
They were finally able to figure out how to, like, they had underwater cameras, they had someone in a boat on the side, so, like, you could get good, clear images of them swimming out together. And honestly, solid cinematography for the time.
Yeah, and a pretty cool challenge.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen maybe a little more depth to it. I think if this was a modern survivor challenge, modern survivor challenge, I need Dirk to bring me Jesus. There would have been a puzzle inside that chest,
Sure,
and we would have finished the puzzle, and that would have been the thing to sort of bridge the gap, not fully physical, not just a race.
Yes.
But it's a pretty cool idea for a challenge. Drag that chest along the seafloor.
Yeah, and I don't know what you thought. I had a very specific reason as to why I thought the team that won. We'll cut to the point. Toggy wins. The team that did not come in dancing and all happy. Toggy wins. Did you have any thoughts as to why they pulled ahead?
I mean, honestly, I just thought it was that Gervais isn't a very strong swimmer. And that was the only thing I really noticed.
Yes.
But you saw something different.
I did. So about as they were dragging it across the floor, most of them, I want to say about a quarter of the way, they were neck and neck. They were sticking together. Early on, both teams sent the same two people down to drag it, come back up, regather themselves, and go back down. Eventually, Toggy did not do that. Toggy started sending different groups down so that you would have someone fresh going in and they wouldn't just exhaust themselves. But right away, and I think through a majority of that, Greg and Colleen were the only ones dragging for Pagong.
Wow.
They,
Where was Joel?
I don't know. Joel popped in eventually because I did catch him underwater. But for a majority of that challenge, it was Greg and Colleen. And I thought that was the worst decision you could have made.
See, I didn't even notice that because I just assumed they were rotating. You have two teams of two, and then every time, wow, okay.
No, and they were doing a good job, but you can only accomplish so much when you're the only ones doing it.
Well, yeah, you need time to get your breath back. And that if nobody's moving the chest during that time, yeah, of course you're going to fall behind.
Yeah. So Toggy wins, and they win the fishing kit with goggles, a snorkel, and the fishing spear. Did they win anything else in there?
I don't think so. I think it's just those two things.
Yeah. It's not the modern fishing sling that you see in today's Survivor.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's just a forked spear. Again, I don't know if I'm sure the technology is there one way or another, but
I think we've had like sling spears since the Bronze Age.
Yeah. But it just caught my eye so heavy that that's just you're going out stabbing with a long fork.
I wonder if it has to do with the area.
Could be
because we see Richard in the reefs, and a lot of the fish or aquatic life isn't very quick moving, so maybe you don't need one.
No. But
or maybe there's the spear. There you go.
There you go. Again, where the show is learning what the show needs as they go. But Rich dives right in. He's like, I can provide fish. I can do this.
Yeah.
And he does.
He mentioned something about they don't believe my life story or something like that. Does he have experience spearfishing? He made it sound like he did.
It sounds like he did.
That's cool.
They didn't back it up with anything, but weird for a guy from Rhode Island to come in and be like, I'm a spear fishing expert. He kicked butt. He got 3 rays. I didn't check what kind of ray it was. It looked like a stingray, like a baby stingray kind of a thing. I shouldn't say baby because they were all about the same size.
They were small though.
Yeah. And the guys didn't really, they didn't want it. They're like, that's not going to taste good.
Sean, put down the fucking fishing pole. It's cool, and listening to him get defensive about it, being like, "Well, we don't need the spear. We have what did he call it? We have the super pole or whatever he calls it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what he calls it. Okay.
Oh, but
it works in a Gilligan's Island sort of way. Like, it doesn't. You haven't caught anything.
He updated the name. It's now the Super Pole 2000 or 3000. It was he carved it into the pole, probably while he was not catching fish with it.
Yeah, I mean, he cool. Like, you have your island version of a model train set, but it's not working, so go try somewhere else, maybe, but, like, don't be like, oh, we don't need that. We have the perfectly good fishing pole that we haven't caught anything with.
Yeah. I will say, to back them up a little bit, when they were down looking in those reefs, it didn't look like there was much for edible fish.
Agreed.
They looked like small, not a whole lot of meat on them, non-edible fish.
I know very little about the ocean. The ocean scares me. It is full of horrors beyond our comprehension.
True.
I wonder if, with my very limited knowledge, if, like, that's just not an area that fish hang out in. Like, reefs are very diverse with marine life. It might not be that you're getting trout. I don't know what fish live in the ocean. But
it could have been a few things. Like, it could have been that it was just too shallow in that area. It's not habitat sustaining for larger fish to live there. Or it's just, it could be what they were barking at before, where it fished it out.
Maybe it was overfished. Yeah. But watching Sean and Dirk get super, like, they were, like, emasculated.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the boat. And, just fed me.
It feels good, doesn't it?
Watching fragile masculinity get wrecked by, of these couple dude bros. Although Sean's not really that much of a dude bro. He just seems like a weirdly sensitive guy. Weirdly is not the right word. Whatever.
He felt challenged, and
yeah.
I think he thought he was going to be the provider, and all of a sudden it's not him. It's the guy that he was like, oh, I don't have to worry about this guy.
Yeah, and you have to have an ego to be a neurologist. Like, to go into to be a neurological surgeon.
Yeah.
You probably have an ego about your own abilities.
Yeah.
And watch that ego get smashed.
Right. To which at the very end, Ridge comes up and says, "Keep me. I'll provide fish," which is going to be a theme through this episode. I want to say he brings it back later.
He says it a couple times. He clearly is worried about his place in the tribe.
Yep.
This is now, I think, it wasn't second episode because their tribe didn't go to a vote.
Yeah.
But between this, him mentioning a couple times, keep me around, I can supply fish. And in the first episode, him saying, there are 4 possible votes, I'm one of them. I don't know how good his read is. Like, he didn't seem in danger this episode, but
he doesn't feel comfortable. He doesn't feel like anyone has his back yet, and I don't blame him. Like, no. It's still trying to get a read of this crowd that you don't know. To which, on the other team, they're so desperate for food. They finally give in, and they eat the rats. They eat the rats. But first, I want to talk about Greg's trap. Greg's trap, I don't know if he made it.
I wrote down that, like, did he? I have no idea. I was hoping you knew if he made that.
It's ingenious if he did.
It's really smart.
It didn't look like it was manufactured. It looked like things that he found and he put together. Honestly, I've never seen a contestant build something that looks that much like a machine.
Greg is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't. Again, it doesn't. He's one of those people that doesn't feel like he's playing the game yet.
Mm-hmm.
But he's smart.
He's very smart.
And he has, like, people like him, and he has a really good social presence. And I think he's actually doing pretty well in the game.
Yeah.
For somebody that, when we were in episode 1 and we were going the cast the cast rundown.
Who is this guy?
I was like, is he even on the show?
So yes, they catch rats, and Joel is the first one to be like, all right, let's do it. And he cooks the rat. He's eating it. Kind of digs it. He's kind of excited about that rat.
Yeah, and Greg becomes a food philosopher. He starts being like, well, really, like, what's the difference between a rat and a chicken? And like, he's doing a really nice thing for Gervais and Ramona, who we've seen very little of. Ramona, doing it, trying to like make it easier for them to eat it because they do not want to.
They don't. They really don't. Yes, so it's Joel, Jervis, and Ramona sitting around the fire. Joel is cooking it, and he's selling it to him.
Oh, that was Joel. I thought Greg was the one who was talking about it.
No, it was Joel.
I've combined them into one person.
One generic white man.
They will be Grohl.
Okay, so Grohl was sitting around, and Ramona takes it. Ramona kind of likes it too.
Yeah.
So I hand it off to Jervis. Jervis.
Jervis ate it like it was the best thing he's ever tasted, which has to be the starvation, right?
I mean, a little bit, but you get past the point of, oh, I thought this was going to be disgusting. This is a meat. This is a protein.
Yeah.
You boil it down to like, okay, I've cooked it. It's in its basic form.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's fine.
You can probably cook, except for like humans, you probably cook most meat to the point that it's edible, I imagine. Not good, but edible. That was what he was a philosopher on. He was like, really, anything's edible if you cook it enough.
Oh, concern.
Also, I wrote down that Jenna scared me during that bit, because they were doing the lead up to eating the rat, and Jenna's like, I'm excited, I'm gonna rip right into this thing because it tastes so good. And I was like, Jenna, you're a little scary.
Yeah, you shouldn't be that excited.
You shouldn't be that excited.
It is food, good for you. I'm glad you're getting that food, but maybe bring it back together. So they finish with that. They go into the immunity challenge, to which they're told to build something.
I really like that idea. Preparing for the immunity challenge before you show up. I don't know if they ever do this again. They clearly
do.
Okay.
They definitely do.
I haven't seen it in 41 or 42. And I like this idea. It was really cool.
It's a different way to look at it. It's cool. I like it. But it definitely separates that idea you were talking about where you walk into the challenge and it's on. No. It's on from the minute you got that letter. So they're told to build a stretcher. And I keep hearing them say structure, but they say stretcher. They say it over and over again, and I'm like, I
didn't have the same problem as you. I'm sorry, you're alone on this one.
It's just me. I don't know. I will own that as much as I can. But yes, they build a stretcher. Each team builds it about the same way. Just a basic bamboo setup with a rectangle.
I did think it was really cool how Pagong put straps on it, and then like, all right, we're gonna flip you upside down now. All right, flip you.
They built it really well that they could do that.
Yeah.
Good for them. Yeah, they did. So we walk into the challenge. There is a crashed, abandoned plane in the background, and I wrote down, okay, we're not going to acknowledge this plane. It's just going to be there. Never mind, they acknowledge the plane.
Yeah.
There's a scenario for this challenge where the lightest person that they were able to choose, the lightest person on their tribe was in a plane, had to escape while it crashes, so they eject into a parachute, and then they're just hanging there, and they need help.
Yeah, so this setup is something that, like, it feels like a 17-year-old explaining an escape room to you.
Uh-huh.
Like, Jeff up there being like, all right, so this plane, it's been here for 50 years.
Sure.
You were in a plane crash. You gotta get him out. And I'm like, oh my god, this is Jeff, you built a 2000s escape room.
It was great, though. All they had to do, sprint into the woods, get them down from the tree, but they were in full parachuting uniform.
Yeah, I wrote down in all caps, they put them in a parachute,
Yep.
which served very little purpose.
None at all, other than to fill whatever scenario they were trying to fill. Someone was role-playing, and they just really wanted that. So they had to run in, get them down from the tree, strap them to whatever, or I mean, not necessarily strap them. The one team did.
Yeah.
Strap them and then get them to a medical tent. Again, really straightforward. It looked like they had them go in different directions, though, on different trails.
Yeah. Because Jeff explains that they are equal distance apart, so it's fair, implying that they are not in the same spot.
However, I do want to point out something I noticed, and I usually challenges are pretty equal, and you do whatever you need to do. Toggy's forest looked much more dense than Pagong's.
It did, and it looks like I don't think that was intentional.
No.
But if it wasn't, we're led to believe it was, right? Because we see Richard's all gashed up, and a couple of, I think Rudy had a big cut on him.
Oh, I didn't even clock that.
Yeah, like right after the challenge, they're like showing like a few dots on Richard where like he got hit by something, and it looked more dense for sure.
It looked more dense. It looked like Pagong had the much easier route and therefore also won. I mean, good for them.
I think this was also a really cool challenge. I think it needed something more than just a race. But the idea of like, all right, this sort of asymmetrical challenge where you are, you build it before we show up, and you have this scenario or whatever. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. The basic idea was there. Needed more fleshing out.
Yeah.
As they always do. But I did clock at the very end as they were celebrating, Jervis is hugging Jeff's leg. It's beautiful. But also, they made them... Was this for this one?
Yeah, they made them go out to the tiny little rock and climb it to get the idol.
The small little island, like, haha, go get your idol.
And they had their torches on them for some reason.
Did they?
Yeah, they took their torches out to the rock all lit.
Weird. Okay. Yeah, they had to do that. I don't know that follows. I don't remember that ever again.
It was pretty. Like the scenery is pretty, but there have been several moments now this season where I'm just like, why? Why did you have them do that? Like, what was the purpose? And this just seems like a photo op, and I feel like we do kind of see things like this in later seasons. I feel like, but we don't see Jeff telling them to go do it. We just see them, on some vista or whatever. It's not like, all right, your Muriel's over there, go schlup for it.
Or they take it upon themselves to do it.
Or that.
Yeah. Yeah. So they win. Pagong wins. There's not a whole lot of pomp and circumstance after the challenge before Tribal Council. Rudy pretty much lays that out as it's either me or Stacy.
Yeah, in fact, I wrote down the exact quote from Rudy. I don't like her and I never will.
Yeah, I wrote the same thing. I wrote it word for word. I thought that was, wow, very candid of you. Good on. But in the confessionals, it seems like everybody's talking strategy.
It does, and Richard says a thing where he says, I even try to get us to talk as a tribe, because that's, going back to what I said earlier about not everyone's playing the game the entire time, and that's really refreshing. A lot of times when they are playing the game, it is what is best for us as a group.
Yes. In
Modern Survivor, they have figured out that, and I'm assuming they probably figured out pretty early, this is an individual game. One of us will win $1 million. Mm-hmm. The group is a convenience for now. These tribes don't see them that way. They see them as, this is our group. This is our tribe.
Jared, you think they figured this out pretty quick?
Oh no.
Oh
no!
I'm going to throw that out right away. Mini spoiler, but they do not figure that out away. It takes a while.
Well, Richard says that he tried to have a group conversation to be like, who should we get rid of? Mm-hmm. And everyone shot him down immediately. Why do we not have footage of that? I would love to see the sandbagging as Richard's like, all right, guys, who are we going to get rid of? And everyone's like, what?
What?
What? No, we're not.
We're not talking about that.
Do this as a group? What are you doing?
Everyone is going to vote, and they're going to do it their own way.
And I clocked, this is the first time the word alliance is used is leading up to the tribal council.
Oh.
This is the first time I've heard any of them say, maybe I've missed it, but this is the first time the word alliance outside, maybe if they've used it before, it's been on a one-on-one dynamic. Like, oh yeah, like we have, like, but like this, I don't even remember who says that. I should have written it down. Talks about a group of people as an alliance with that word. And I was like, there it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Found it. Yes, so they briefly talk about strategy, and then they trek their way to tribal council, where Jeff immediately says, "Oh, how about that weather? Real pretty crazy, right?" He had to make a point of saying that yes, it's raining, and we gotta make this happen quick because it's gonna be bad.
Well, and then Jeff passes out the talking stick.
I wrote down, it's the magic conch, and you may only speak if you have the magic conch. I was trying to figure out why. My initial guess was it was a microphone, but no, they're all mic'd up.
No, I think this is... I joked talking stick, but I think that's literally what it is. I think Jeff came to the conclusion, whether himself or with producers or whatever, that like, hey, we need to make these more direct, and people are kind of talking over each other, so let's give them... And then he does what he ends up doing for, I assume, the whole show, which is directing questions at people.
Yes.
But he's directing them, when he directs them to people, they're past the conch.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, okay, so can we lose the conch? Because, like, you figured it out now. You've pieced it together. We're only on episode 3. I did not expect it to happen this quickly. And, okay, I'm glad the conch got you there. Can we get rid of it now?
I'm hoping it goes away quickly, but I cannot vouch for if it goes away quickly. Honestly, that was one thing that caught me off guard. I was like, oh.
Oh yeah, I wrote down WTF conch.
It's something. Sean was called out by Jeff at the tribal council for not being the provider.
Yeah.
This is one of those
Jeff,
sass moments where, okay, Jeff, you know too much, and I know you're being fed this, but man.
Hey, Sean, you were emasculated earlier. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. How do you feel?
I kind of liked them going around and giving their defenses, some of them that felt nervous. Starting with Richard. Again, Richard grabbed the conch and was like, hey, don't vote me out, I fish.
I fish. I could fish.
Which is, he's very insecure about his place in the tribe.
Right.
And then it gets to Stacy, and her defense is, I ate bugs good.
Yeah.
Well, You'll need me to eat bugs later?
She said, games coming up are my strong point. So she was making the argument that the bugs one was not her strong point, but she still nailed it.
I think it's the opposite. I think she was arguing challenges 1 and 3 were not her strong point, which I think, wasn't she the person carried? It was either her or Kelly. They're the same person in my mind.
I think it was her.
So, like, sure. But she's like, the bug one was her strong point, and there'll be more of them coming up. But either way, she's like, games coming up are my strong point. Stacey, you don't know what games are coming up.
You don't know what these games are.
How?
No, this is the first season of a TV show. You don't know what these games are.
Even if you are on the most recent season of Survivor, you don't know what games are coming up.
Yeah. I will absolutely disagree with you and say it was my way, but it doesn't matter.
That's fine.
You're correct.
It was the weakest defense I've ever heard someone give for why they shouldn't go home.
It was. And then after that, Jeff pulls it and says, okay, the rain is too bad. We need to get out of here. And he looks
and we need to go quick.
He looks miserable. Everyone looks miserable. He's like, right, clearly. I don't even know if the paper's going to hold on.
He doesn't look, he looks worried.
He does look worried. Everyone looks worried. It might be a monsoon. Not entirely sure. So yeah, everyone's miserable. They write pretty quickly. And
I wrote down so they still do the in the booth like show who they vote for, but they don't say anything. And the camera hangs. If you haven't watched the episode and you're just listening to us, first of all, thank you. Why are you doing that? But go to the tribal council's episode and just look at the voting and find when Rudy votes. He'll be the old one. and he just holds out this paper with Stacy's name written on it, and he stares into the camera with these dead eyes for like 5 seconds, and that is my sleep paralysis demon. That is what I see in the corner of my room.
I mean, I'm sure he was told you have to hold it up. Like, if you don't talk, like, okay, fine, but you have to hold it up for the camera. We need that shot.
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone votes as quickly as they can. Stacy is voted out in a 5-2 landslide.
Yep.
I did clock, though. This is the first time that they went person A 1, person B 2, person A 2, person B 2, and then it was one-sided. So I don't know if that happened by chance or if they finally clocked, okay, let's put the drama on.
If it hadn't been a monsoon, I would say, oh, they finally stacked the votes correctly. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like they even tried.
I don't think they did either. So
maybe this gives them the idea.
We'll find out. So yes, Rudy, Sean, Dirk, Sue, and Richard all voted for Stacy. And just Stacy and Kelly for Rudy.
Yeah.
So, and she calls out
Susan.
She calls out Sue, but it wouldn't have mattered.
No.
It still would have been 3-4.
Yep.
So, I don't know why you're so upset about that.
And you knew.
Right.
You felt like you knew going in.
All of it didn't make any sense to me.
She was just emotional.
She was emotional. Like, I get it. There have been far more dramatic exits in the game. Really looking forward to those. So Jeff
snuffs nothing.
Snuffs a dead torch.
Why did he still go through the motion?
He has to. It happens quite a bit.
Oh, really?
I shouldn't say quite a bit. It happens every so often where through weather, through random wind, maybe like oil dumped out or whatever, a torch goes out. He has to give the motion of snuffing the torch, and he will do that every single time.
God.
There are very few times in Survivor when a person leaves and they don't go through the drama that is snuffing the torch.
Which is probably medevacs.
Medevacs, you are kicked from the game for doing something stupid.
Oh.
Which I want to say only happens once or twice. And a single vote, which we are way away from, where Jeff says, I don't even think we need to vote. We all agree? Yeah, we agree. You're gone.
Sadly, I do know that vote because I saw it on a TikTok, which got me back into Survivor in the first place.
Which, good. Honestly, that was probably the moment when I thought, okay, good on you, Survivor. You've had moments that you haven't handled well. That is a moment that you absolutely freaking nailed. They could have also not shown someone. I don't need to talk about this. We'll get there eventually. Way a long ways. Yes. So Stacy's gone.
Stacy's gone. Has got it going on.
No. And then again, a thing that I never hear them say again. You can stay here. The weather's so bad. You can stay at the tribal council area because we don't think you can make it back.
Yeah. And it's not like this is like, they're not like, oh, get in the shelter. There is no shelter.
No, there's no shelter there.
Maybe they can get under the tribal council platform. I don't know if that's any better.
I don't know.
Just stay here as long as you want.
Unless they let them in the production tents that I'm sure are right back there, but crazy. Absolute craziness.
Yeah, I have heard that in... I know they've had to do weather evacs a couple of times of entire casts, and I do know what their procedure is for that.
Oh, okay.
They put them all like in a hotel room, but they are not allowed to talk. You cannot say a single word to anybody.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice that you get a hotel room, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's emergency shelter.
Right.
Tornadoes and stuff.
Sure. Okay. That wraps the episode. We have your segments at the end here.
Yes.
One, how do you think Stacy would do in Modern Survivor?
I actually think Stacy would have a shot to be a decent player.
Mm-hmm.
She is the only person, I feel like, besides Richard and maybe Susan, who have something resembling a strategy to get themselves further in. She's not great at networking, clearly. She pretty much grabs onto Kelly and then makes a blood feud against Rudy and calls that a day. But like with more context of what the game is, I actually think she could be quite good.
Yeah, I think this is one where product of the time, if she could have rallied people and actually had them listen to strategy, she could be in this game and could be in this game for a while.
And if she picked a better target. I don't think Rudy, she just like her and Rudy just disliked each other as people. But everyone kind of liked the both of them. Like, it didn't seem like anyone really had a problem with Rudy or her. So if she would have gone after, a more compelling target, like maybe Dirk or Susan, I don't know if Susan would have been a more compelling target, but, Dirk, maybe, she tried to turn on Kelly or something like that, and it was a further season in, and she could rally troops against them. Yeah, I think she'd be quite good.
They're working into the kumbaya problem where everyone likes each other, so eventually the decisions are going to get much, much harder, and someone's going to have their feelings hurt.
Yeah.
It's coming. It really is.
And someone pointed to that. I think a couple people did, actually, where they're like, hey, these votes aren't going to get easier.
Nope. They're only going to get more difficult.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait. And then your bit you proposed last week, the protagonist of the episode. Who drove the narrative? Who do you feel like brought the through line through this episode and through this storyline through the season as a whole?
Through the season as a whole, I don't think there is one yet. Mm-hmm. I think I'm not going to do season as a whole. Because I think, if there is a protagonist for a season as a whole, that's probably a bad season.
Sorry, I think I misspoke. Brought it through driving the episode toward the narrative that the season is trying to tell.
Oh, I understand. Yeah. So last episode had a really obvious protagonist and antagonist. Yeah, last episode it was BB's show. Our entire last episode, if you count the number of times we said BB, I wouldn't be surprised if it was nearing the triple digits.
This is the BB show, and I'm glad to say...
Okay, yeah, good, because BB's the worst, and I loved every second he was on the screen.
He's still on our screen. He's with us forever.
He's in our hearts. Screen. This episode is a little harder, but the one that does really stick out to me is Richard. I feel like Richard had his own whole arc going from, someone who feels like they're, more towards the bottom, mm-hmm. And sort of finding their way as to being a provider. I guess the honorable mention of that goes to Greg. I feel like Greg's having some pretty good moments, but I don't think Greg knows what Greg wants to do yet. He's just kind of vibing.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like he's driving enough action to be labeled the protagonist of the episode.
I'm real interested to you watch Survivor as a whole, you pick up on things, but when you're watching and writing notes and you're trying to pick up small intricate details, I feel like I notice much more now than I've watched it the other few times I've seen the show, which is good. But we have to talk about it, so I'm glad. One last thing that you asked me to dig up. We were looking at where are they now. Honestly, this far away, there's not a whole lot of information, and it could be because the most information that I found was that Stacy sued the game afterward for trying to she claims, and Stacy is a lawyer, so take that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So Stacy is a lawyer in San Francisco. Stacy claimed that the show was rigged because of how the votes went. And I'm not going to spoil why yet. Okay. I just want to say that claimed that the producers influenced people to vote a certain way.
Interesting.
Wild. Absolutely wild. And of course, like, a lot of information that was there says that, you sign away a lot of that. Like, there's not much you can do. Stacy was after that money, though. Was trying to get for lost earnings, for assuming that she would have won.
Oh my god.
Crazy. And then, like, way more than what the prize even was. So
I wish she hadn't done that.
Yes.
And because I wish that she could have come back in a future season, because I think she'd be a great villain. That's crazy, especially because like Discovery brings out everything. So if there
Yeah.
was evidence, I mean, did she settle or did they settle or did they just?
I don't think so.
Okay, so the claims never went anywhere.
I don't think the claims went anywhere because I don't think I think a judge would have taken a look at that and CBS was like, hey, look, sign the thing saying like, no, you can't do that. You can't sue us for this. And I'm sure it was all thrown out. But yeah, wild. All because one person did a certain thing, which is dumb, and we'll talk about that next week.
Oh, okay, okay. I was like, I thought you were talking about Susan. Yeah, okay, okay, got it.
We'll talk about that next week. Yeah, anything else you want to wrap up this episode? Any thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I want to keep this. I do want to keep this bit. This where are they now bit. The last, BB and she's Sonia, forever in our hearts. I think that they probably are no longer with us. So that's kind of
Yeah, almost guaranteed. Or they're just very old and not out and about doing things.
yeah. I mean, BB was 72? No, Rudy's 72. I don't know. BB and they were both over 65. So that was in 2000.
Yeah, that was 22 years ago. BB was 64. So that would be 86
86.
now.
He could still, but
Definitely
not
still.
probably not an 86-year-old making a lot of news.
Yeah, and Sonya was older. Sonya was 63. So,
Okay.
I don't know. Who knows?
If,
Wild.
if we find anything, we'll put it in next episode. That'll be our cliffhanger.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up episode 3. Looking forward to next week. Let's bring her home. Well, that does it for episode 3 of the Survivor Turning Back Time podcast. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We just went live for the first episode, a little bit behind the scenes. We're debating on how often we want this going out. It could be weekly, it could be bi-weekly, it could be we mix it up here and there depending on what you guys want. So please provide us feedback. If you think we're going too slow and you're going through episodes too fast, absolutely. Send us information. Our email, survivortbt@gmail.com. Twitter, @survivortbt. Send us information there. Or you want to get a hold of us individually, get a hold of me. Get a hold of Steven, not Jared, is what I'm asking you. You can always tell Jared, like, hey, tell Jared he's awesome. Send him things.
Yeah, or correct me on things I've said that
Yes.
don't involve future facts of the show. If you're like, actually, that reef had a lot of fish, and you're an idiot.
Do
That's
not
cool.
spoil it for Jared. That is all I ask for you. And I hesitate to say that out loud because we all know that when challenged, the internet does exactly what you want them to do. So yes.
But also remember, oh god, I don't want to make this a challenge. One good thing is I've probably stumbled on over the years or whatever more information than I think I have, but I'm incredibly bad with names and have a horrible memory, which is very advantageous for this project.
It warms my heart. The whole reason we're doing this is that you don't know things, and I know a little bit more than you do, which makes I mean isn't always the case. So this is fun. It's like I'm pulling one over on you for a long time in a row. Do you have anything you want to promote?
Yes. If you are in or around Chicago, in the fall, and I'll have more exact dates soon, there will be a production of Sound of Music being done out at Big Noise Theater. A good friend of the show, Travis, is directing that. So make sure you go see that. Actually, I have a running joke with my girlfriend that she did Sound of Music, and I had to go see it twice because she was a cover and went on for a different role. And now Travis is directing it, and now she's auditioning for it again. And I'm like, if I have to see Sound of Music 6 times in 1 year, I will walk into traffic. That musical is like 7 hours long,
Yep.
and it's not for me. But people that love Golden Age musicals, go check out that show.
Yeah, and I mean if you like. I don't want to say golden age reality TV because this is not golden age reality TV. They have a lot that they're figuring out. I don't know. Go check it out. Go see that show. Anything else?
Stay sexy, people.
Oh, I love that. As for me, I am on Twitch. If you like watching people play video games or you just like hanging out with cool people, I like hanging out with you. Come watch me. I am at twitch.tv /StiefPlays. Link in the description of the show. Otherwise, thank you all for listening. We will be back next week. I want to bring this out. And I want to say to you, thank you for watching Survivor. This is a great project. We're going back. We're watching a lot on Paramount Plus. I got dragged back into the challenge, which is something that I never thought I would go back and watch again. So many things to watch out for. This has been the Survivor Turning Back Time podcast. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We love you, BB.